Hi Flosstube, welcome to this video. My name is Anna and I'm here to talk about cross stitch. Today is Monday, May 31st, 2022, and it's Memorial Day here in the United States. So I am off of work today and I thought I would get on and record my progress from May. I guess if you guys don't know, Memorial Day is a federal holiday here in the US where the official purpose is to remember military personnel who have died and remember their service. But a lot of people here use it as a time to remember anybody or just as a time to get together with friends and celebrate the start of summer. So Memorial Day weekend marks a lot of pool openings and a lot of people will go camping and boating and grill out with family and friends and just enjoy the great weather. So that's what I'm doing today. A lot of banks and offices are closed, but it's also a really big sales weekend. So people in retail and restaurants are still working today. I'm going to try to stay home. I don't want to be out in the chaos. There's a lot of big sales on like appliances and things like that. So my plan is to stay in today and prepare for my week. It's been nice to have an extra day this weekend to sort of relax and prepare for a shorter work week. So anyway, I have a lot to share with you today. So I'm going to go right into my WIPs, my works in progress. And then I have a finish to share with you. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that. And then I will talk about my plans for June. Then I have some haul that I want to share with you guys. And then towards the end of the video, I'll give just a quick update on my garden and I guess just life in general, although I tend to sprinkle in some life updates while I'm talking about what I've been working on. So let's just go ahead and get started with the stitching. Oh, I'm also in a new place today. I'm downstairs at our dining table. Our main floor is like, it's not one big room. There's definitely a wall here, but it's this dining room and then the living room and the kitchen are all kind of in one space. And then our bedrooms are upstairs and then our offices are in the basement. So my dog is loose right now and so is the cat. We'll see whether she causes any disruptions. She's currently cleaning herself on the couch, so I hope you guys can't hear that. Anyway, cross stitch. I had a pretty productive month in May. I had a lot of downtime, and I'm a pretty active person. When I have downtime, I'm usually productive, like, you know, in the garden or around the house, but because I'm pregnant right now, today I'm at 31 weeks. I have to take breaks. I can't do nearly as much as I used to, and so then I sit down and I'm bored, and so I've been able to cross stitch a bit more. There are also evenings where I'm so tired mentally and physically that cross stitching is just not even on my radar, but in May, between traveling for a wedding and just being physically tired, I was able to get quite a bit done, I think, anyway. So I'll start with, again, I'm going to talk about my works in progress first, and then I'll talk about my finish. So I worked on Fright Night just a little bit. This is my oldest project. I started it in 2018, so it's its 4th anniversary this August. I'm nowhere close to a finish on it, but I am making good progress, I think. So this is the cover photo looks. This is from Artisy, and show you where I was, and then this is where I got to. Again, not very much progress, but a little bit, enough to show you guys, I think. So I started on this next diagonal here, and I really did not spend that much time on it. I was right that there's a lot of big blocks of color as we get closer to the foreground. So this dark area in here went really quickly. It was all 939, which is the darkest color in this. The whole thing is like shades of blue. So there is some 310, but it's really just kind of like here and there. The main color is 939, and then 823 is the other really dark color that appears in here. So this is what it's looking like overall. And let's see. Again, with the lighting, someday I will have a permanent place to film where it's the right lighting. But you can kind of see close up there. I had been doing like strict diagonals where I stitched one stitch at a time. Now I've been dividing the row into diagonals, but I do a 10 by 10, like 100 square. So you can see that there's some holes in there. I didn't quite finish that square. It's one of those things where this morning I was like, well, should I just pull it out and finish that square before I show you, and decided that was a bad idea. If I was going to record, I should just hit record and get started. So anyway, that's Fright Night. I do have another full coverage project. It's a Heaven and Earth Designs. It's a mini, but I don't think I'm going to pull it out for a while because this one is turning 4 years old this year. And yeah, if I feel like working on full coverage, I just pull this one out for now and I'll just keep going on it. So that was Fright Night, which was not I was not planning to work on it. It was not one of the ones that I had started in May's gone by. But one project that I did start in May of 2019 was this Dimensions kit. It's called Winter Cardinals. There's the preview. So Fright Night is on 18 count white Aida, and I think if I start another full coverage project someday in the far future, I'm going to try a higher count, smaller holes fabric so that it ends up being smaller. So 18 count Aida, 2 strands of DMC seems to be fine even on the dark project. So here's this Dimensions kit. I'm using the kit fabric and the kit floss for this one. That's my beautiful dog outside barking. Okay, and this is, well, hopefully I can show you side by side where I was, and this is where I got to. Actually, I'll just take my clip off and unroll it. Oh. So you can see the hoop is still on it, as I was working on this just a couple days ago. So that back up and I'll show you specifically what I was working on. I like to work on this when it snows, and we had a pretty substantial snowfall in May. We had kind of a freak snowstorm. Well, I wouldn't call it a freak snowstorm because it's not unheard of to get snow in May, but we got here about 8 inches on the ground, and it had been melting for hours before anything started sticking. So 8 inches of really heavy snow. We had branches down. A lot of people's gardens got squished. I'll talk more about that in my garden update, but anyway, that weekend when it was snowing, I focused on this a bit more. So I had already stitched a lot of this. I moved over, and right now I'm focusing on this branch and everything below it. So this is like the last tuft. It goes out both directions. So the edge of the project, you can see the edges of the fabric is here. So the edge of the project is really close. And I did some of the cardinal's tail in here, but I'm going to focus on this greenery before I do more of the cardinal. Trying to get, again with the light, so you can get a good look at it. So the cross stitching for this whole project is getting there, but there's a lot of back stitching to do. So for as far as goals go, I don't know. I feel like this is my oldest project that's not full coverage, so I feel like it could be a focus this year or next year to finish it and get it framed. And pull this back up. You can see that I'm on this last tuft here. So there's really not much to go, and then there's this branch here, and I've done a bit of the cardinal's tail. So that's coming along. The only change I made is I added a 1 strand of blending filament to the white. The whitest part, fluffiest part of the snow calls for 5 strands of white in half stitch, and I'm using 4 strands of white and 1 strand of blending filament. And you can't see the sparkle, but anyway, pretty good progress on this one too. I do have another wedding that I'm going to in June, and working on this 16 count Dove Gray Ada is pretty convenient when I'm traveling, as I can't control the lighting. I just have my book light with me. So this might be coming with me on that trip, and then we'll see even more progress. Okay, the other whip that I worked on, work in progress, was a start for Mania last year, and it was a big Mania fail for me. I had intended to start, I wanted to spend 2 days on each block of the 12 Days of Christmas by Mill Hill. This is a Jim Shore Mill Hill collaboration. I don't know if it was artwork first and then Mill Hill did it, or if they worked together. I have no idea. But my plan was to work on the border and then do a strand on the inside for each block. And I just really fell off the wagon on that one and did not do that. And so this year, when I pulled it out to work on in May, I decided I would focus just on one block. And so I'm working on the 5 golden rings. I did a center start on this fabric. I measured the fabric to make sure that it was the right size. I originally thought that I bought a bigger piece on purpose to use part of it for something else, but I really just bought a lot of clearance around the whole edge so that I can make this into a wall hanging someday. And by someday, I mean 15 years from now, because if I did one block a year, it's going to take me 12 years, and then I have to add the beads. So I don't think about my projects in terms of years very often. I just work on them because I enjoy them. But realistically, I'm going to do all the cross stitch, and then at that point in time, I'll probably need to get some kind of scroll frame and stand to put the beads on. So I feel like that's realistic 10 years from now, but now it's not realistic for me to get a floor stand and that kind of thing. Anyway, I worked on the 5 golden rings block. Let's see. So this is stitched on 32 count Belfast linen in the color gold raw, or raw gold. So it's shiny and sparkly, and I got a Q-snap for it, and here is where I got to on this. So you can really see the sparkle on the fabric there. You can see I chose to do, I don't think I have it in this bag with me, but I chose to do a thick, might even be number 8 braid for the borders. This ring is done except for the beads. So all the cross stitches in, there's just some gaps in here for some gold beads. This ring is partially, it's getting there, it's almost done. And then I started these two also. So one thing that was holding me back with this project, other than putting it in the Q-snap helps a lot so that I can see the whole square that I'm working on and just focus on this one square. So breaking it down into just one part helped me mentally focus on it. The other thing that has been holding me back a little bit is that I'm doing a very slight color conversion on it, just very slight. So I'll show you. These are the colors that are in just this block. So if you're looking for a really bright, colorful, not traditional Christmas colors pattern, this one's got it all. It's got blues and purples, and it's really bright and colorful. A little too bright for me, so I've decided to replace the purple in all of the squares with other colors. So this block will end up having just these colors in it, which is more Christmassy to me. But I mean, the purple, it's beautiful with the purple too. So anyway, replacing the purple throughout the whole project was overwhelming to me. But for this block, the 5 gold rings, the only purple in here is for the word rings. So I'm going to take this red 5 and just use the 3 colors that are in there. So there's a dark red, a lighter red, and then there's red beads. So I'll just do that conversion for the word rings, and then that block is ready to go. Yeah, so I ordered everything, including the purple beads and floss, just so that I could see what I was replacing, and it's just a dark, bright. They're both bright, but a darker and a lighter purple. So that will work for this. And then there's just some greenery, and then each square has like I'm not sure what they're called, but they're like special little buttons or some kind of ornaments. I'm not going to order those and put them on, because a lot of them, they're just like stuck in here. There aren't any where it's essential to the picture, so I'm just not going to put them on. Yeah, so that is my progress on this project. I have a grime guard coming from Etsy. I've never used one of those before. I thought for like 3 seconds about making my own. I just ordered one from Etsy, and it's coming, and it'll go around this. I think this is an 11 by 11 Q-snap, but it's like Frankenstein together. There's a bunch of like little extenders in here because I've used Q-snap pieces for other projects. Yeah. Now that I've wrangled the fabric and figured out an approach. Oh, this is also in that. I put that on a bobbin still. Now that I've gotten a little more organized with this project, I saw a lot more progress, and I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about getting it done in the future, or enjoying working on it instead of pulling it out and being confused and all that. Okay, so those are the 3 whips that I worked on. I also had a couple of little finishes on my prairie yard. I don't know where the patterns are, so I'll just show you the ones that I finished. I specifically wanted to finish May. It's all crinkled, but once I lace it, it'll be better. So here's May. All finished. The basket was a ton of fun to work on. It looks great. I didn't exchange any colors in this one. And it will go with this one that I had already finished. So these will be framed together and on display next May. I also finished, pull the needle minder off, this one. I also finished January, which is very exciting because I had some issues with this. The original pattern called for white, for the snowflakes, and it wasn't showing up on this oatmeal Aida. These are both on 14 count Aida. The white wasn't showing up even with 4 strands, so I pulled it all out, and I decided to go with number 8 braid, Kreinik number 8 braid, which is really thick and really scratchy. It's not the most pleasant stuff to work with, but it provides a lot of puff and a lot of sparkle, which you can't see the sparkle, but I think you can see the puff. You can see a little bit of the sparkle in there. Yeah, it's just really scratchy. And the reason I went with it is at an estate sale a while back, I bought a floss box of random Kreiniks in like different stages of use. So some of the spools had just like one length on them. And it was in there, and so I just decided to use it, and I ran out of it, and I went to, my stitching shop is called A Stitching Shop, and it's in Denver. There is a quilting store that carries some cross-stitch supplies called the Creative Needle in Littleton, which is much closer to my house. So I stopped by there to get some more number 8 braid, and they didn't have color 101, which is what this is, but they had number 4, which is a thinner version in that same color, 101. And so I just doubled it up, and I finished off the snowflake with 2 strands of number 4 braid, and you can't tell where I did that. So very happy with that solution. And I also bought some other metallics for the other, I have another prairie year that I'm going to work on next that well, I'll get to there in plans. But anyway, I'm really happy that this is done. And now I only have 4 of these 20 per year smalls to finish. So 16 of those done. Okay, the last one I want to show you from my progress in May was a finish. I finished my Mareshka kit. That's Mareshka. And I finished the hair. So I guess I can show you my project instead of the preview. I talked about finishing this so that I could hang it in the baby's nursery, and here it is. So I need to iron it. This kit, it either came with linen or it came with Ada, but whatever it came with, the squirrel came with the other one, and I wanted them to be matching. So I ended up buying, let's see, 32 count Belfast linen in the color flax, and it was really pleasant to work with. And I used all of the kit floss for this. So there it is, all finished and backstitched. So I'm not sure how close I can show you this with the lighting. I'll start with the face. So there was not a ton of backstitch overall on this. I mean, I think there's projects with a whole lot more. Like, none of the greenery is backstitched. It's just these little, like, moths or butterflies have some backstitch, and then the hair has backstitch, but it's got gaps in it. It's got more of like a sketch style, but the backstitch really made it pop. The little face is so cute. Little blue eye is beautiful. You can see there's a little bit of the lighter color in backstitch through here to show the fur. It's got all those little whiskers, and again, the eye is really, really cool. And the paws are backstitched, the front paws, the front legs. And then on this side, there's another little butterfly that's backstitched. And then back here, the backstitching kind of wanes a little bit. It's like lost in this greenery, but you can see the feet and the tail are outlined down here. And then I put, just in the little bottom, I put my initials AU and 22 in there, which I feel like is pretty small and hidden overall. So someone had left me a comment saying that I should do this as a birth sampler, and I did think about that, but I have the other kits from Mareshka, and I'd like to do all of them together. So I think just putting the year that I finished it is going to be sufficient. And then I can get this framed and put up. So I'm really excited that this got finished. It wasn't like a huge push for a finish. I wasn't stressed about it or anything like that. It just was really pleasant to work on. The pattern is a color pattern. So it's not essential that you make a copy in color because the symbols are different enough, but I did have to look at the original color charts to know what color to do some of this backstitching in. And let's see, the floss, I ended up cutting these cards so I could travel with them, but these are the cards that came with it. And I only got close to running out of a couple of colors. This number 10 is the darkest. I was a little worried about running out of that because if you guys remember, I had started this on some linen from Joann Fabrics, and that linen turned out to be super uneven. So uneven that I noticed the picture was weird. So I kept that in case I needed to pull those threads back out, but now that I've finished, I'm going to toss it. It's just, the linen's not usable, and yeah, so I guess I can unkit this and put this in the trash. This was my start, which is pretty substantial, before I realized that I needed to stop. So this is going to go in the trash. These threads, I don't know if I'm going to save them or not. I'm pretty sure the other kits use the exact same colors. So I might wait to open the kit and see the next kit and see whether they're the same colors or not. might hang on to these just until I finish the series. And then if anyone's interested in looking at the back, I'm pretty new to backstitching, so I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but I feel like I carry my threads pretty far. So this is the back of it. I try to avoid knots. Like I'll rip out the stitches and try to fix knots. But I'll also carry my threads really far, and if there's a knot that's really far away, I'll just tack it down in the back so that it doesn't pull through the front. But overall, I think it's an okay back. Not that I'm going for a clean back, but I like seeing the back sides of people's projects so that I can see like how far they'll carry their threads or how messy it is or how bulky it is in the frame. So anyway, sorry about that pause. We had a barking incident in the house. She's taken that party outside now, so hopefully it's not too loud coming through for you guys. Anyway, I'm probably not going to wash it because I don't know what's going to happen with these threads, and really the amount of active stitching time was pretty quick on this one. The chart was just really easy to follow. The threads were really nice to work with. I think maybe the nice linen helped with that a lot. But yeah, I'm excited to get this framed and get it on the wall in the new baby room. So yeah, that is my big finish for today. And I've mentioned before that I have the squirrel ready to kit up. I have to be careful with that word around this dog. My husband pointed out that this R word and the S word are like her enemies number one in our yard. Like she will sit outside for hours waiting for them to come into the yard, and then she'll chase them. Like she's not good at it. I'm not concerned that she's going to get them, but they're like her worst enemies, and I'm going to enshrine them on the wall. So anyway, that is everything I worked on in May. So going on to my plans for June, I mentioned I only have 4 more of the Prairie Years, so I'm definitely going to focus on July, which is the Liberty Bell. That's this one. This is on white Aida, so there's a border that has white in it. I think instead of using white, I'm going to use a silver Krynic that I picked up. Again, I'm going to use number 8 braid, which is not the most fun to work with, but it ends up showing up really well. So I'm going to work on this one for sure, and then if I finish this one, I'll try to make progress on one of the other 3 that I have left to do. And then because there's only 3 left, I think I'm going to steal this project bag that I made for this and put a new start in it, which I will talk about in a little bit. So this year, if you guys don't know, I say it every time, I'm working on, for sure, the project on its anniversary month. And so I started this next project, let's see what year I started it in, 2019 in June. And it is Spirit of Christmas. I don't think I have the preview with me, so hopefully I can find it and insert it. I started Spirit of Christmas. Oh, here it is. It's in the floss box. So that's what it looks like. It's really not a great preview for how pretty it is. Started this in 2019 on this is on Witchelt 32 count, and I found the little card that came with it, and then I lost it again. I think it's navy, but this is my starting point for this one. This is so much fun to work on. I love the color that I chose for the linen or even weave. I'm not sure, but it's 32 count, not Aida. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working on this one. and pulling it out. It's been a while since I've worked on it. It's obviously not in season right now, but I started it in June 3 years ago. So I definitely want to pull it out and work on it. So that's Spirit of Christmas. And then I'm planning on having a new start because I just have the one anniversary project in June, Spirit of Christmas. So that gives me some room to do a new start. And I'm excited about this one because I've been thinking about starting it for a while. It's a big project for me. So it's one that may take some time, but I'm going to do Salute to Abigail. And it's in this Sweet Land of Liberty, the Blackbird Designs book. It's this one here. Let's see if I can get... Here it is. This is what it looks like. It's different from all my other projects. I mean, I have a couple of samplers now, but not quite like this. It's just really, I don't know, just seems really like, I don't know if primitive is the right word. It just seems more like American folk than any of my other projects. Even the Prairie Schoolers are not quite like, they don't have like these quilt blocks and these random flower motifs and things. So this project calls for R&R reproductions in mink, and I went with, it was a little brown for me, so I went with Nantucket Brew instead. And this is by R&R Reproductions. And this is a 36 count, which is the smallest count I've ever worked on, and that's part of why I'm excited for it. It's something really new. So this has more of a gray tone. It's still very neutral. So it's going to go on this fabric, and then the threads that it calls for, I ordered these back in 2020 during the lockdown. I believe that's when I ordered them because I wanted to see what the original colors were, and then I decided that I didn't really like that palette. So these were the original colors that it called for. There's a dark blue, a light blue, a red, and this cream. I think it's espresso cream. So it's more like a, I don't know. It's not white. So these are really pretty all together, but it's just not quite the colors that I wanted for this project. So instead of these, I'm going with a collection of Weeks Dye Works. I still wanted to do something fancy just because. And so these are the colors that I'm going to go with instead. Let's see if I can show them nicely. So you can see they're quite a bit brighter, especially the red and the white. And then the blue, this is the lighter blue that it called for, and this is the lighter blue that I'm going to use. So you can see there's a huge difference, and this variegation might be too much for this project, but we'll just get started and see how it goes. So I'm excited. I've never used Weeks Dye Works before, never stitched on 36 count before, never done a Blackbird design before. So it's all new things, and I'm excited to get started on this. And I feel like I decorate my house with some holiday stuff and some seasonal stuff. I feel like patriotic things, like for us, it's for the 4th of July. It's not out for very long. So I'm excited this year for Juneteenth to be a more patriotic celebration. So now from like Memorial Day today through June and July, I can have patriotic stuff out. So I feel like it's seasonal to start this in June. If you guys are not aware, Juneteenth is when the last holdout on emancipation from slavery, when they got their orders, I think their official orders that they were to free the slaves in Texas. And so now it's a new federal holiday here in the U.S. to celebrate Juneteenth. So, yes, very excited for Salute to Abigail to start. Hopefully I can dedicate some time to it. Hopefully the 36 count is not too much to deal with. So today I'm going to be finishing kitting this. Like, I have all the supplies, but I'm going to make a copy of the pattern, pick out a hoop for it. I don't have a Q-snap, though I might be able to put one together. So I'll get a hoop or a Q-snap for it, make a copy of the pattern, and then I think I'm going to put these on bobbins and put these ones away in my stash for some other use sometime. So yeah, that is my planned new start for June. Okay, I'm gonna pause and clear a space here. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys some things that I acquired in the month of May, or maybe just slightly before that in April. One thing I did is I went to a stitching shop, the cross stitch store in Denver that carries all things cross stitch, to get some more Weeks Dye Works. I needed to get that lighter blue, and that's the one I chose. I had not been there in a while, and they have totally reorganized their store, and it is amazing. Before they had like aisles of floss. Now one whole wall of the shop is just all floss, like door to door floss, and it's organized in clear bins that you can see. It's beautiful. And they've expanded some of their sections, and it looks great. If you live in the Denver area and you haven't been to a stitching shop in a while, I mean, like, I hadn't been there for like a year or a year and a half, so it's not that recent that they did this, but if that's your shop and you haven't seen the reorganization, it looks wonderful in there. There was an order that I had placed a long time ago that I picked up, and I'm pretty sure these are beads and floss for 12 Days of Christmas, because I went in there to kit the whole thing up and they didn't have everything in stock. It was during the pandemic, so I'm not surprised. There's their card, stitching shop. It's a wonderful store. Everyone there is really knowledgeable and helpful and excited. They're excited for me to start my new project. So I picked those up. Something else that I did is I went to a wedding in May in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my husband was playing golf one of the days with the groom and his dad. And so I had time to kill, and I decided I wanted to go to a cross-stitch store, and there was only one. We were on the south side of Charlotte, and there was only one that showed up on my search, and they were going out of business, which is so sad. They are now officially out of business. I think it was called Stitch and Frame or Frame and Stitch. I can't even remember, and they didn't give me a card or anything because they were going out of business. So anyway, their last day was Saturday, and I went on Friday before their last day of being open. And so everything in the store was at least 25% off, and I went there not knowing what to expect. You know, sometimes a shop like that will carry a lot of needlepoint, but not a lot of cross-stitch, or embroidery, but not cross-stitch. This seemed like a cross-stitch store. It had just been picked over. Like, they were almost giving things away. Just, that's how low they were on inventory and where they were at on closing the store. Apparently the owner retired and moved out of state, and her employees have been running the store, but they just couldn't find someone to buy it and take it over. It was doing fine, I guess, you know, based on what they were saying. It was just this lady didn't want to run it anymore and didn't have anyone to pass it off to, and so she decided to close it down. And I think it's the only stitching shop in that area. It was across the border in South Carolina, but it was just a 20-minute drive from Charlotte for me. Anyway, I went in there not knowing what to expect, and also not having a budget beyond my monthly allowance. So I bought some things. This really, really crinkly paper bag. One thing I got was a Dimensions Gold kit. It's a stocking kit. It was listed for $37 in their shop, and then it was 25% off. So I grabbed this. It's Santa's Journey stocking. I have always wanted to do a stocking. Our stockings grown up look like they've been cross-stitched, but they were purchased. And I just love that style. And so I got this stocking. I have some other stockings on my wish list, but I don't have any big ambitions to like get them done for my kids or something like that. And I don't want to do that pressure. So this is going to be my stocking someday when I stitch it for me, just like all my other cross stitch is for me. Even the hair that's going on the nursery wall, it's for me. It's because I enjoy the hobby and it's because I like the finished product and that's the look that I want in that room. So anyway, I bought this kit on sale. I also got, they were pretty picked over on their floss and I didn't want to grab a bunch of fancy floss not having a plan for it, but I did get a bunch of metallic Krynics, just whatever they had. It looks like these are all there's a bunch of number 4 braids in different colors. I know that I've used this one on my Blackwork square by Peppermint Purple, and so I have more of that now. I've got these 2 colors. These are just like whites and silvers and metallics. They had other colors, but I didn't want to get a ton of those. And this is number 8. Again, this is much thicker stuff, but it's a big bobbin of it, or a big spool of it. So I got those 25% off, which is great because, you know, they're like $5.25 a piece, and then got them on sale. The biggest thing that I got was floss. So they had, like any cross stitch shop, they had drawers for every DMC color. Most of the drawers were either empty or had like 2 or 3 different flosses in them. And those were on sale for 25 cents each. So I went through and I got one of every color that they had left. So this bag was full. I've since gotten in here I needed a green for my Prairie Schoolers. I needed that yellow for 12 Days of Christmas. So I've gone in here and I've pulled out the yellows and most of the blues and I've started putting them on bobbins. My goal is to someday have a full set of DMC, but I'm not trying that hard yet. It's just nice if you run out of a color to go down and grab one. So this was full and I've already started bobbinating it. And I had a second bag of floss. I ended up with 280 colors, which is not their whole line. Again, they were out of a bunch of stuff already, and I wiped them out. Like, I cleared out some of those drawers when I went through and grabbed these one at a time. So they're all the solid colors that they had left in stock there. And then a bunch of the DMC's variegated flosses, like these kinds, which I have no plans for and I was maybe a little frenzied at this point because now I have to store them and I don't have any plans for them. But I do have a Prairie Schooler project that I want to start at some point, and I am not a huge fan of the original colors, so I feel like maybe using like this super variegated green instead of the green they recommended would be fun. And then I also grabbed a few of their metallic-y ones. These start with an E, so does that mean that they're the étoile kind? I'm not sure. And then this other type that I don't know if I'll ever use it, but I just grabbed one neutral color. It starts with a C, and it's weird. It's a weird floss. I'm not sure what it is or what it's used for, so I just got one of these, but yeah, that was my haul from this store that was going out of business, and it's so sad that they closed. The people there were really knowledgeable, and they were selling everything. They only had one piece of fabric left. It was a 40 count linen in like a mustardy yellow that I thought about getting. But then I didn't have any plans for it, and I'd already grabbed all this floss and this kit, and so I left that there. But they were selling like even like the display things, like bins and stuff were on sale. They were just clearing out the whole store. They had a purchaser who's going to turn it into some other type of business. But I took advantage of that sale and I got all of that floss, and it's going to take me ages to put it on bobbins, but again, so far I've been able to dip into this bag and already found 2 flosses that I needed. So I didn't have to go out for those. I can just pull them out of my stash, which was the point of the whole thing. So that's my haul. This is a very long video so far. So I won't give too much of an update. One of the reasons that I'm down here for this video is because we started preparing my office for the baby. One thing we're doing is I want to put up wallpaper on one of the walls, and it's like a forest mural. I'll see if I can insert a picture of the actual wallpaper I purchased off of Etsy. But our walls, this is an older house, it's built in 1971, and there's many layers of paint, and so the wall had like a texture on it, and so we had to prepare the wall by putting some drywall joint compound on it, and now we need to sand that down and put on primer. So it's kind of a construction zone up there. I'm still working in that room because it's where my desk is. It's too heavy for me to help move, so we have some friends who are going to help us move that desk at some point here. But anyway, I didn't want to get all my cross-stitch stuff out while that dust is in there. Other than that, we have, as far as the baby goes, we have some furniture on the way, and things are happening. I mentioned I've been really tired. I want to do things in the garden and around the house, and I just have to break them up into like 20-minute tasks. Whereas before I could spend 3 hours in the garden. If I had, water and some Gatorade and sunscreen, I could be out there digging and weeding and all sorts of stuff for hours, and now I just can't. Like, even bending down to pull weeds is starting to get tough to do. So yeah, at 31 weeks, and baby's due on August 1st. Everything has been great at our checkups. Just trying to prepare for this huge life change that is coming. As far as the garden goes, last year our big project was building and filling raised beds. This year, we're installing irrigation into those beds. I watered by hand all year last year, which was fine because of lockdown. But this year, we have a wedding, and we're going back to Kansas for our baby shower, in June. So that's 2 weekends that my vegetables would be really stressed without water, and I don't want to ask our dog sitter to do it because I've got a lot of plants out there. So my husband dug the irrigation line. Last year we had landscapers come and tear out all of the front grass and install a couple of irrigation zones, and they just capped them for us to expand as we plant things. And then in the backyard, they installed irrigation for the grass, and then they left a couple of zones open for us for the vegetable garden. So my husband, under my direction and supervision, dug the lines and sent the different hoses to each of the raised beds. And now this weekend, I've been plugging in drip lines and like little emitters and things for it. So I've got one more level of that to do. I ran that zone today, and especially the tomatoes they're not getting enough water, so I'm gonna install a couple more emitters. It's our first time doing this, like installing irrigation, so there's just like a lot of hoses everywhere. It will get covered in mulch someday, maybe tomorrow, but for now it's just like, all right, add another hose, and maybe next year it'll be more organized, so that it's not so busy underneath the mulch. So anyway, hopefully I went out and took some pictures of it. There are so many weeds in the background that you can't really see what's in the garden. So hopefully I got a couple photos for you guys while I was rambling about the yard. I mentioned that we got a really heavy snowfall. Most people had planted their gardens already when we got that snowfall. So it was really heavy snow, and so people, even if they put like a sheet or a blanket to protect their plants from the frost we got, the freeze, the snow gathered on it and pressed it down. So I have some potted plants that got injured. My peonies in the front yard, which have been there since we moved in, and they're beautiful. Those got squished, and so now they're blooming like on the ground. I did clip a bunch of the buds and put them in a vase, and they flowered inside. So I'm happy I did that. I was out there in like 30-degree wintry mix, like shaking with like my clippers trying to get some buds to bring into the house. But it was worth it because then I got flowers inside during the snowstorm. But anyway, because of our travel schedule and because of my energy level, I had not planted my vegetables yet. And I was just like sad about it because we have a really short growing season here in Colorado. You can't plant until the end of May, and then we get our first frost sometimes in September or October is generally when it happens. So we have a short growing season. I really wanted to get those plants in the ground, but it turns out that my procrastination and other things were a bit of a blessing because then I got all fresh plants in and we should not get more snow or frost now. Hopefully we get more rain and more moisture. We really needed it. But yeah, that is my update on the garden and my life and cross stitching. Again, it's a really long video, so thank you for sticking with me if you've been here this long. And I'm planning on coming back for an update at the end of June, but the end of July, we'll see what happens. We'll see what life looks like towards the end of July. The baby's due August 1st. I already feel super pregnant. I don't know how I can do 9 more weeks. It's amazing. It's a miracle what the human body can do during this time. And I also understand that, once the baby comes, my hands are going to be full, so I probably won't have a lot of cross stitch to show, but I'm hoping that I don't have to give up the hobby entirely and I can keep enjoying working on what I have. So that is the update. Very long update this month, and I hope to be back in about a month to work on the things that I talked about, and I'll see you then. Happy stitching. Bye.